Hi friends, it's Kayla. Happy Valentine's Day. I just sat down to film and realized that I haven't done a book haul yet this year. So apparently I only do book hauls on holidays now. Last time I did one was Christmas and now it's Valentine's Day. I hadn't planned to do one today, but I was just hanging out. I feel like a lot of us don't have a lot to do on Valentine's Day. As far as like going out and doing much, I'm gonna make a really involved charcuterie board later for me and Rob, and he got me this super cute card. It's very funny. But for now, I'm just hanging out with nothing to do, and if you have nothing to do, then you can hang out with me. Cool. I don't know how many books I have here because I haven't organized them. I just started throwing them on the floor. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Oh my god, 25. I had a lot of success finding inexpensive books in the last 6 weeks because I'll tell you, and I'm talking like from my big bookstore, my indie bookstore, and Value Village. My two #1 tips for book shopping on a budget are go book shopping right after a holiday, like a week after a holiday, because everybody has gotten books as gifts and then a lot of people have donated said books. And the other one is after a major sale, so like right after Black Friday or right after Boxing Day, because a lot of stores will put stuff on sale, and then if it didn't sell the way they thought it would during those big sales, it might be even more discounted the week after. And if we're talking about like used bookstores or Value Village, a lot of those books will move during those sales or those holidays, and then they've just restocked like a week later and there's a whole new selection to choose from. I feel like this isn't as much of a thing in like the US, but Canada, you just don't have the same type of cheap books as you can find in the States. Like finding a book in store with an $8 sticker hardcover is not super common. So I'll try to kind of organize this by where I got them, but I'll probably forget. This one I know is from Indigo because it had an $8 sticker on it. And this is an absolutely remarkable thing by Hank Green. There's a couple books that I picked up specifically because I did this video where I read booktubers' favorite books from the past year, and I'll talk about all those books in a second that I bought. But then in response to that video, there was a couple books mentioned, including this one, that people wish I had picked. So this is like well known on BookTube and beloved on BookTube, and I still don't know a lot about it, but I saw the sticker and I had to have it. I've been told specifically that I will like this. It follows a girl who is a YouTuber or uploads a YouTube video and gets a lot of fame and recognition, and people have told me that that aspect, even though I don't love that idea of fame, that there's like some weird elements in here that's gonna make it something that I do like. Okay, the synopsis still has not given me a real sense of the weird part of it. Like I don't know if it's like sci-fi or fantastical or what's going on, but there are these carls that pop up in different cities around the world. April has to figure out what the carls are and what they want from us. I have no idea what I'm getting into, but I want to read it. The other one that was mentioned a few times is called Vita Nostra, and I've heard that this has like dark academic vibes. It is a translated work, which I don't read enough of, and it says it's a dark fantasy with psychological suspense, enchantment, and terror. So I think I saw two people, Elias talked about this and Matthew talked about this, so I will link anyone's channels who like inspired me picking up these books, just so if you see something that sounds interesting, you can actually go to other people who've already read it and find out if you want to read it, because I don't know anything about it. It has to do with the Institute of Special Technologies. I just love going into books not knowing anything. I also picked up Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, which is about a black woman in the 1930s, and I think it's about her finding her own independence, and through a couple different marriages, she's fighting for her own rights and making her to like make her own decisions while other people are constantly trying to control her, including society as a whole. I also was really fortunate to find some books that I have already read, whether I borrowed them from the library, I got ARCs of them, or I read them in some capacity and I didn't have like the final copy, but I've always wanted to own the final copy. I found some inexpensive books that I've already read and I didn't own final copies of. Am I repeating myself? I finally have the hardcover of Wilder Girls, which I'm very excited about because I was so kindly sent the ARC originally and I've just been holding on to it, and I found this one. I'm very excited. This was one of my favorite books of 2019. It's about a group of girls on an island under quarantine and weird things are happening to their bodies. And then I also found Dig by A.S. King. The final edition is so beautiful. And this is about a family of potato farmers, and it's just about like generations of privilege, and it's very strangely written. It's a little confusing and it's beautiful, and one of my favorite books. One of my favorite books of 2019. Next up, one of my favorite anthologies. There was a paperback. This is Black Enough, and it is all stories about being Black in America by a variety of authors. Hold on, don't let me sell it short. Featuring some of the most acclaimed best-selling Black authors writing for teens today. This is an essential collection of captivating coming-of-age stories about what it's like to be young and Black in America. This is one of my favorite short story collections. I think I already said that. Am I okay? I don't know. And then I found this edition of How We Did It by Carl Subban, which is one of my favorite nonfictions. It is the father of P.K. Subban, his brothers and his sisters. You might know him from the NHL. It's about him making a life for himself in Canada, coming from Jamaica, being a principal, raising all of these children, and it's like full of parenting tips and just like getting a general idea of his perspective on life, and I really liked it. Next up, definitely came from my local indie because I haven't taken the stickers off yet. I found these in the sale section, so I'm excited to own them because they've been on my radar for a while. This is The Weight of Our Sky by Hannah Alcath, and it takes place in what year? 1969 in Kuala Lumpur, and there are racial tensions going on, and I think there's a little bit of fabulism in here, or like both of these make reference to monsters, and I don't know like how realistic we are until I've read them. But it's about a boy and a girl who have to come together to overcome like violence in the streets and the prejudices that they're experiencing, and I've heard good things. That one came out in 2019. And then Pet by Akwaeke Emezi. This says, the problem is when you think you've been without monsters for so long, sometimes you forget what they look like, what they sound like, no matter how much remembering your education urges you to do. It's not the same when the monsters are gone. You're only remembering shadows of them, stories that seem to be limited to the pages or screens you read from them, flat and dull things. So yes, people forget, but forgetting is dangerous. Forgetting is how the monsters come back. I'm very interested to know like what we're covering here, but I've heard that I will like it. I think it might be middle grade, but I cannot confirm. Oh, I missed this one. This is Between the Worlds and Me by Tanehassee Coates, which is another book that I've already read, but I had the library copy and I wanted to pick up my own final one. I actually read this exactly a year ago, and how does it describe itself? It's like written to his son. He shares the story of his awakening to the truth about his place in the world through a series of revelatory experiences, from Howard University to Civil War battlefields, from the south side of Chicago to Paris, from his childhood home to the living rooms of mothers whose children's lives were taken as American plunder. I've been thinking about rereading this for a while. I originally read it in a month where I think I was reading like 30 books in 30 days is what was going on, and I probably went through it quicker than I should have. Okay, moving on to all the books that I picked up for my Reading Booktubers favorites. I did a whole video about it. I did a whole wrap up about it. So we'll run through these the quickest. This is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, and it's about a woman who between like life and death gets to revisit her life as if she had made different decisions. It's like alternate universe stuff, super interesting. This one is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, which is the story of Achilles and that other guy that I always pronounce wrong and you always call me out for, Patroclus, I don't know. It's about love, it's about war, it's about things that I normally wouldn't want to read about, but I really enjoyed it. Go watch that video if you haven't already. Maybe it's sitting in your watch later list and I'm not going to ruin it for you, by telling you my thoughts here. Next is 21 Things You May Not Know About the Indian Act. I am going to spoil all my thoughts because I have to tell you to read this. This is, I think, something that should be taught in schools. It's by Bob Joseph, and it's helping Canadians make reconciliation with Indigenous peoples a reality. It is really well structured. It talks about how the Indian Act was put in place, the changes that have been made to it, how it continues to harm Indigenous people in Canada, and how we can try to fix shit in the future. Next up, I picked up Ghostwood Song by Erica Waters. I bought so many brand new books for that video. It's nuts. This is about, oh my goodness, a southern town and a girl whose father has passed, and there's magical fiddles and strange spooky things happening. It's like gothic, it's cozy, light fantasy. That's what that is. Oh gosh, all the books have fallen on me. Next up is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune, which is a fantasy book about a guy who works for this company who like goes and looks into orphanages, and the orphanages in this world are taking care of magical children, especially in this one, who are like a threat to society, and he has to figure out if this orphanage should continue running and if the person running it is doing it properly. And it's just this really sweet story of all of these like magical children and discovering, I don't know, like what's important in life, and it's found family, and it's lovely. And then Scythe by Neil Shusterman, which is about this futuristic world where there's no more illness and trauma and natural death. So these scythes are taking it upon themselves to control the population by killing people. And we're following two apprentices who are like learning the art of murder, basically. For all of my thoughts on those, you can check out the video, the very lengthy vlog. Next, we've got, oh my gosh, there's so much still to go through. New releases. Let's do new releases. Love is a Revolution by Renee Watson. This is about a girl discovering herself, what she cares about. It kicks off with her like lying to a boy about her life and discovering that self-love is revolutionary, especially for her in her life and her experiences. Next, I have The Project by Courtney Summers, which was sent to me by the publisher. I have read this and discussed it in a recent ARC vlog, but they kindly sent me the final copy as well, which is very cool. And this is about sisters and this cult. We're in a couple different timelines and them finding out like what's going on with the other sister. One of the girls is investigating the cult to write like an expose about them and gets free reign to interview people, and it's like this sinister vibe. I also picked up Concrete Rose. This is by Angie Thomas, and I can't wait to read it. It is Star's father from The Hate U Give and his story of when he first became a father at like the age of 17, and how he had to choose that life over the life and the path that he was currently going toward, and the ways that the world doesn't expect much of him, and how he's trying to prove himself to everybody around him. Next up, I picked up, let's see, I have Layla by Colleen Hoover. This was, I think, an end of 2020 release, and I don't know that much about it, but I think it's like paranormal. We're following a character named Leeds, and his girlfriend, wife, love interest, Layla, has been injured. So he whisks her away to this bed and breakfast where they first met, and he finds solace in another guest at the B&B. The tagline is "Love can haunt or heal," so we'll see. Next, I picked up Whites on Race and Other Falsehoods by Otega Uegba, which is a critical analysis of white people and their response to injustice towards groups of which they do not belong, especially the Black community. What does true allyship actually look like, and is it even possible? This is probably going to end up in my favorite books of the year list. It's not a book, it's an essay, but it's a book. Like, it's a book. I also picked up this poetry collection called In Flow with Grace by Raul E.M. James. Raul is a former teacher of mine, and I just wanted to pick this up and support him. I don't know, like, how do you talk about the theme of a poetry collection? His poetry inspires and challenges us to see love embodied within us. Raul is committed to enriching lives and building a community that is equitable, inclusive, and respectful. I don't know, I'll tell you more about it once I've actually read it. And then a couple other new things I bought. One of them is House of Leaves by Marxie Danielski. This is the Literally Dead Book Club pick for March. I feel like I've talked about it in quite a few videos, and I still don't really know what it's about. And I've heard that it's very difficult to get through. The longer it goes before I've started it, like the more time that it sits on my shelf staring at me, the more intimidated I get by it. And I'm starting to get worried for all of us and our experience reading it. That's all I'll say about that. But read it, join us for the live show. It's gonna be interesting. And then for a future video, I think probably my next video that I'm gonna post, question mark, is Vicious by V.E. Schwab. It depends how quickly I get through all of these books. This is about Victor and Eli, who started out as college roommates. Seemingly supernatural events reveal intriguing possibilities, and under the right conditions, someone could develop extraordinary abilities. So it's kind of like sci-fi superhero stuff. I think starting this today, so we'll see how it goes. And then my last couple are thrift store finds. So and are they all thrilling? I don't actually know the plot of this one at all, but I have been told time and time again that I need to pick up some books by Louise Erdrich. This is called Future Home of the Living God. This says, evolution stops as mysteriously as it began. Pregnancy and childbearing quickly become issues of state security. As Cedar travels north to find her Ojibwe family, ordinary life begins to disintegrate. Swelling panic creates warring governments, corporate and religious factions. Okay, so I think this will have some historical relevancy, though it's like a futuristic story. I love that pairing. I just saw it on the shelves, as I do, and picked it up for a couple bucks, as well as These Women by Ivy Pachoda. I heard about this a lot in the last couple of years as well, but don't really know what it is. It's about women on the corner, women in the club, women who won't stop asking questions, these women who get what they deserve. I think we are following a group of women, and they're all connected by this one man and his deadly obsession. I don't know what it means, but it says it's beautiful and gritty, full of tension and grace, and I'd like to read it. And then I picked up the sequel to a book that I haven't read. This is It All Falls Down by Sheena Kamal, which I think is the second book in the Nora Watts series. I found out that this series is set like kind of where I live, which is very interesting. I don't know that I've read any mystery thrillers set in BC. So I actually can't tell you anything about this one because I haven't read the first, and I'm worried that the synopsis will spoil something. The first book in the series is called The Lost Ones. I hauled it a couple months ago, and then the third book in the series was just published in 2020. If you got this far in the video, you can be the select few who have a little sneak peek at a future Literally Dead Book Club pick, because I am going to read The Lost Ones this year, and I would like to invite you to join me. So you get a little head start. You can order your copy, and also if you're here and you're a mutual and you want to let me know if you want to co-host, comments. Let's chat. I think the first one involves her perhaps finding her daughter. She has to revisit this dark past. She gave up her daughter for adoption, and now she investigates, or is like an assistant to investigators. We'll figure it out in the future and talk more about it. But that is everything that I picked up, that I remember that I picked up in the last 6 weeks. Thanks for hanging out with me on this Valentine's Day. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know what you're reading. I'd love to chat with you in the comments. And any of these books that you've checked out, if you liked them or hated them or have any opinions you want to share, I'm here to chat. So I'll see you later. Bye.